What is up, everybody? This is Axe.
And this is Fiz.
And welcome to a very special video, guys. We're very excited to bring you this. As you guys may have noticed, Fiz and I have done a couple of videos in the past about DSP and this whole situation where there's kind of some controversy going on, and being that, we were, and kind of in a way still are, fans of DSP, we wanted to give our thoughts on this. And it occurs to us, as time has gone on, there have been a lot of videos about various topics in this whole fiasco, but there's been one topic that's kind of gone unaddressed, and there's been one person that's never really got to tell his side of the story. And because there is really no such thing as a one-sided story, and everybody deserves to, tell their part, we have this guy with us today. We're very excited that he's on. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you TheAireaidLord. What's up, man?
Not much. Thank you guys for having me on. I'll say before we start, I do have podcast experience with people kind of interviewing me, asking me questions and stuff. So you can give me the tough questions if you'd like. I believe DSP said that at that Kane Bringing the Pain interview, so I'll say the same. Give me the tough questions.
All right, man, awesome. And we saw how that went. So.
Yeah. He avoided the one big topic that everyone was wondering about. So hopefully I won't do that here.
What we'll do is we'll get everybody all excited. Then I'll be like, all right, Chris, what do you think about global warming? What do you think about the Electoral College?
Oh boy, yeah, you don't want me to talk about that.
But anyway, guys, to give you a little backstory about how this whole thing came about, ever since, I want to say roughly the beginning of 2012, maybe even late 2011. There were a lot of controversies concerning DSP piling up. And, everybody is going to have people that don't like them. But, I mean, with this situation, it really kind of built up exponentially. It was just gaining just a lot of momentum, kind of a snowball effect sort of deal. And there was a video that DSP talked about, and it was, Chris, and, Chris, you were kind of talking about some problems you'd had with DSP. And clearly I think that the whole situation kind of had you in a bad state of mind, and we all get that way. So, Fiz and I, we kind of got an idea about you from that video, so we made a video talking about that, and you actually contacted us. And see, this is what made me realize, wow, maybe we had the wrong idea about this guy, because some people, who shall remain nameless, if you say anything, and I mean anything at all, negative or critical about them, even if it's constructive, then you're a troll, you're a hater, you're a fanboy, you're an asshole, you need to die, you're blocked. It just goes crazy. But you actually, you made an intelligent response, and you actually contacted me personally, and not only, did we conversate a little bit, but you complimented on the channel, you thanked me for my opinions, and you did it in a casual way. So, Fiz and I talked, and we're like, we had this guy all wrong, and we respect you, for really coming to us like a man like that. And it made me think, man, maybe all of YouTube has this guy pegged wrong. Maybe there's a big part of the story that not a lot of people know about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's what it's been a frustration like this for a lot of my time being in the DSP community, that people, like you said, have painted me incorrectly. Ever since I started being in prominent playthroughs of Phil's, his fans, for whatever reason, didn't like me. And maybe that was a little bit on me, because in a couple of DSP's, like the first couple of playthroughs of his that I was in, namely the Moon, the zombie map Moon that I was in, that was a pretty big one. That was like the first official one.
Right.
And then there was the other big one was Borderlands 2, which after Borderlands 2, Phil officially made a video after that addressing people, saying, stop hating on me, which was always like a theme. Like, he never mentioned it in 2011, and then in 2012, where people were like, he noticed people were hating on me. I guess it went hand in hand with people hating on his girlfriend, which that's another area in and of itself. So
yeah, right.
But yeah, he started actively saying, don't hate on him, he's not doing anything wrong, kind of thing. And he always called me like a kid, and like the way he talked about it was somewhat, true, but I think he wasn't getting at the fact that, couple of things. First of all, on the Xbox 360, the mic makes my voice sound like a kid. It's funny because my roommate, who's like right over there, he's not listening to this, but he even says to me, he's listened to some of my videos. He's like, dude, you sound way different in person than you do on your videos. And I said, well, I don't know. It's just how the voice modulates. So people on the 360 mic, I guess, assume that I'm some young 12-year-old kid playing with DSP whenever they hear my voice. So that's assumption number one. And then assumption number two, they don't like when I butt in the commentary, and they just don't like me generally in the footage. And then the third reason, I think, I don't know if I make this claim for everyone, but a lot of people, in some way, I guess in the early stages, were jealous that I became friends with Phil. Because the friendship, you know, I've said this in a couple of videos of mine and other podcast interviews. My friendship with Phil was very spontaneous and impromptu. It didn't happen kind of overnight. It was a very gradual thing. I was a fan of his. In 2008, I found his Fallout 3 playthroughs and thought it was hilarious how he was drunk, dying 100 times, and that was literally how I started. That was how I found him. I was a fan of his. And then in 2010, my first video, one of my first videos that I uploaded to YouTube was a remix, We Didn't Start the Fire, and I basically counted down all the games Phil played for 2010. So that was like my entry into the whole DSP thing. And then in 2011, he did a series of fan appreciations, and I joined in like almost all of them for the games I had. So we're talking Black Ops. He did one for, what was the other game? Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. He had a whole bunch. Yep. And I joined in for the majority of them and kind of kept this ongoing thing. And then I met him in person at Kineticon 2011, and it was very odd for a couple of reasons because he was open with me. He instantly recognized me. I said, "Oh, I'm the AxeManGaming." He's like, "Oh, I know you from the fan appreciation." I said, "Okay." And so he was alone at the time. John Rambo and OJ weren't with him, and we were just talking like for a good couple hours, and it happened off camera. See, this is the thing. There are videos of this on my channel of when I saw him. It's called like Meeting the King of Hate. And all these videos have a couple thousand views and some dislikes, some people saying, wow, this guy's a stalker. But off camera, it was very sincere. I told Phil that, things in high school, aren't really that great. Having your channel around and my channel, it makes things, it shows a brighter side kind of in my life, and it's good. And we kind of had this conversation back and forth. And I don't know why I asked this. I said, "Oh, can I have your cell phone numbers just so we can keep in contact?" And he said, "Sure, man." I'm like, "Wait a minute. You said yes to this? This is the guy that you just talked to for a couple minutes." So I gave him my phone, and sure enough, I had it. I was like, "Oh, okay. What do I do with this?" Like, all right. So then that summer, I said, "Okay, well, I guess I can, see what he does if I say something." So I texted him over the summer. I texted him about some different things. Like I self-published a book that I was selling to people. So I said, "Hey, you want to buy it?" Yeah, that's oh my god, that would take another 20 minutes to go into that. But, but yeah, I told him. I said, "All right, I have this book coming out. Do you want to see it?" And he's like, "Sure, man." He was all enthusiastic about it. And then I said, maybe I can, maybe we can do a playthrough. So I said, "Hey, the new Zombies map coming out, Moon, it's the last one. That looks pretty cool." And he said, "Yeah, let's organize it." So that was how I got into the playthrough, because I had his number. He invited me into the playthrough because of that, and I met one of his friends, Crochado, and we all played together. And I'll admit, again, it was exciting for me. I was like, holy shit, I'm playing with DSP, and all this stuff's going on. And not that it was twofold. It was a two-sided thing. I was excited because obviously I'm playing with a big YouTuber who can help my channel. That's obvious. He having videos of me playing with him, his fans would obviously come over and check out my content. But the other side was being his friend and getting to know him and stuff. So there were two sides of it. So some people accuse me of simply doing it for views and for popularity, which wasn't really true at all. And
I never got that vibe.
Yeah, a lot of people maybe who hate me have that vibe. Oh, he did it just because he wanted views on his channel. And even the video that I made private, I talked about this, how Phil helped me with my channel and my subscribers. It's part of the reason why I have 3,000 plus subscribers. I'm not going to lie. That's part of the reason why I do. Sure, there's other videos I've made that have helped that, but majority are from his fan base. A lot of my fans are from his fan base. And I totally recognize that he helped in that regard. And I guess that just angers people, like, oh, this guy's, getting help from DSP, and that's not fair. So that might have been one of the reasons that people didn't like me that much. So there were all the... Yeah. Oh, you can go on. What were you going to say?
Yeah. I was just going to interject and say this. I get where you're coming from on that, because a lot of people in the YouTube community, I don't know if it's just a misunderstanding or if it's just, maybe it's in some cases it's misunderstanding and maybe in some cases it's just a little bit of nastiness, but a lot of people will be so quick to say, oh, you're only doing this for the money. Or, oh, you know, you're only this big because this happened. Like, I remember a while back, you know, and Fiz, I know you're going to remember this. You remember when the channel gained, like, an enormous amount of subs over a very short period of time because we got the shout-out?
Yep.
By the way, everybody, Fiz is on satellite internet, so he's going to have like a 3-second delay. He's not falling asleep over there.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like, and so I had a guy, and he requested that I not say who he was, so I'll respect that. But he gave the channel a shout out, and like a lot of people came over, and immediately people like were messaging me, commenting, oh, you know, you're buying subs, and I was like, just all this kind of crazy stuff. Like, first of all, when I do my Mario Hack videos, the one thing I constantly talk about is my job situation. At the time, I was working at Kmart, and I was like, do people really think if I'm stocking shelves in the toy department at Kmart that I have the money to spare to buy subscribers on YouTube? So I completely get where you're coming from on that regard, with people kind of coming down on you and always having something negative to say. But on the contrary, like I said, you know, and Fiz, I know you can vouch for this. As soon as, you know, I got the message from Chris, you know, I told you about it, and, you know, Fiz, you know, you can vouch, we were both kind of taken back. We're like, wow, you know, we had this guy pegged completely wrong. This guy is, you know, he's a really cool dude. You seemed completely different than you had been made out to be in this whole DSP situation.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, it's just unfair because, and there's a video right now that's on the internet, which I want the guy to fucking remove, but he won't. It's like, TheAireaidLord reflects on DSP, and he has it's the stupidest fucking video ever. He has Assassin's Creed music in the background, and he's showing Twitter posts that I made on, like, Twitter regarding, like, making the video or not. And I'm like, what? Like, what does this accomplish? It's like, dude, like, take the fucking thing down. Like, the video's done. You know, there were a couple of people who re-uploaded the video, and because I'm partnered with Machinima, I contacted Machinima and said, take these videos down, and they did. And they're like, oh, censorship. I'm like, I don't want people uploading my shit. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So, and, you know, I said the video was private, so it's going to be fucking private, and that's the way it's going to go. So, you know, and that video did bring me across as incorrect. But, you know, so I just went over, I guess, kind of why the DSP community didn't really like me that much, because they were either jealous, they thought I was doing it for views, or they just didn't like something about my commentary in the video. Well, it's not like Phil dropped me from the playthroughs. In fact, the day after we did Moon, Phil actually texted me and said, you know, don't worry about the haters and the, you know, people hating on you, just ignore it like I do. And then he actually blocked some people. It was kind of funny. Some people came to my channel, I was blocked by DSP, why'd he do it? I'm like, well, let's think about this for a minute.
Right. I always loved that. I can say, Fizz, what is it? Like, I think we've totaled, with this channel and the past channel collectively, I think we've only blocked, what was it? We've only had to block, like, what was it, like 5 or 6 people collectively between both channels?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because like we would have, like, some people would do this, and some people would give me constructive criticism, and I'd take that. That's fine. They'd be like, hey, you know, the audio, or maybe if you try the game on this setting, it would work. Well, like, some people would just, like, message me, like, insults, you know, just dirty, vulgar, nasty stuff, and I was like, okay, this is not going to be constructive. This is not going to breed anything positive, whether it be compliments or whether it be criticisms of my video that I can then take and change my content to make it better. This is just going to breed negativity. So I blocked that person, and I still remember it, and they messaged me back on a different account, hey, why'd you block me? And I'm like, well, gee, you know, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the completely vulgar and nasty message that you just sent me 15 minutes ago. And so it's one of those things that I completely understand where you're coming from on that. You know, Fizz and I, we've dealt with it as well. And I will say this, though. The first thing that sold us on you was the fact that you did come to us and you did reach out to us, and we respect that, because it is, like, you know, people are saying, you were saying, you know, DSP kind of always kind of referred to you as a kid. That is an adult thing to do. But the second thing is we were talking about that kind of sealed the deal was you were a fan of Age of Empires 2, so that sealed the deal.
Yes, I commented. I was just browsing. I was like, oh, what does this guy have on here? And the first thing was Age of Empires. I'm like, And especially because my friend just bought Stronghold Castle HD, and he's like, oh, it's so much better than Age of Empires. I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm going back to the Age of Empires video.
Exactly. You can't go wrong with Age of Empires, especially that Goth engine, man. It's like so ridiculously OP.
Oh my god, yeah.
The only thing that I think, well, if I talk about Age of Empires, if I get started, I'm going to go for like hours. So we better just go ahead and move on with this. But what we're going to do, guys, we've given you a little backstory about how Chris contacted us and everything. Chris has given you a little backstory. So what we really want to do here is talk about, as Chris said, we want to talk about the hard questions that people want answers to, but, as of yet have been unexplored here on YouTube. So there's a lot of speculation, but now let's get down to the facts. But the first thing I want to do is also this. I want people to get a better opinion of you. So briefly tell us just about you first, but without, before DSP was in the equation, I guess. How did you get into gaming? How did it become, a hobby of yours?
Gaming was something that was introduced to me at a very young age. My dad actually was into gaming. He had the PS2, and when I was young, he used to play like the mature rated games, like the old Grand Theft Autos. He used to play them late at night when I was asleep with my younger brother, and we used to go to sleep, and he used to play the adult games. The first video game I can ever remember playing, I probably played games before this, but the first game I can ever remember playing is Frogger for the PC.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
Frogger, that game, I don't know if I still have it. I want to fucking find it because I want to do a playthrough on my channel. But Frogger was like, I don't even know how to describe it. You just bounced around and got frogs and avoided traps. It was basically like this little puzzler game. And I remember playing that. I was a big PC gamer for many years. And then this was when I lived in New Jersey. And a lot of my friends around that time played games with me. So we played a lot of PC games. So I was into Toy Story. So it was like Buzz Lightyear, Star Command, PC games, and then Age of Empires eventually, and then Empire Earth, which is kind of like Age of Empires, and then what are some other PC games? I don't know. There was like 101 Dalmatians. I got some of the crappy movie tie-in games, and then I remember my mom got the PS2 for my dad for Valentine's Day. And it came with a free game. It came with like a free PS2 game. I don't know. They were doing some deal. I mean, this was back when game stores did deals instead of fisting you for your money.
Right.
So it came with Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, and so.
That's true. I'm glad you mentioned that because for those of you out there who are really young and you don't know what we're talking about, there was a time when people actually robbed businesses instead of the other way around. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Indeed. I actually went to Blockbuster, which I don't think that store even exists now, but I went to Blockbuster and raided it. Yes, but anyway. So Jak and Daxter was the first PS2 game, was like the first console game I pretty much remember playing, and I got into those console games, and I continuously played them. So then I bought, like, Ratchet and Clank. I bought all, like, the big PS2 games. I was into the platformers, and I played them with my friends, and I was really big into that. Mm-hmm. And then it was a combination of PC gaming and also the PS2. And then I moved up to Massachusetts in 2005, and the new friends that I made were anti-PlayStation. We went to this video store. I still remember the name of the store. It got closed down, unfortunately, but it was called Airport Video, where you had LAN console, like, Xbox matches.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, dude, you gotta play this game, Halo 2. And I'm like, what's Halo 2? So, like, I remember one day we played hours on end playing Halo 2 LAN console matches. I'm like, oh my god, this game is fucking addicting as fuck. And I'm like, and they're like, dude, Halo 3's coming out. I'm like, well, I better get an Xbox 360. And then that was it. I stood away, especially since the PS3 went through like a weird phase. Like the original PS3 controller was a fucking, what was it? Like it was weirdly shaped. I remember.
Oh yeah, it was a mess.
A boomerang. That's what it was. It was a fucking boomerang controller.
Like a boomerang.
Yeah.
And then like the company was making ridiculous claims. The next generation does not start until PS3. It's like yeah, all right. And then so 360 was just great because it had great online, and I played Halo 3. I got really, like, I don't know if anyone knows this, but I've said this on my channel a couple of times. I was competitive in Halo 3. I was in a clan called the Lords of War, And we got so high in Halo 3 that we almost fought the creators of Halo 3. We went, and I don't know if you guys know this, there was a really rare armor permutation called Recon Armor. And only people who did super special things for the creators could get this armor. So we were going to fight them in like a 4v4 Team Slayer match and get this armor. But it unfortunately didn't happen because the guy who was running it was an idiot. But,
man.
But it was close, and we had fun. Like, I used to do practice sessions, so I was really hardcore into playing Halo 3. And then I bought other games like GTA 4, and I kept up. All the games I primarily was like 360, and I kept playing games on that console. I didn't really play a diversity of games. That was the thing. I kind of stuck to the franchises that my friends had introduced me to. Like, okay, you know, Call of Duty and Halo, GTA. Those were kind of I just stuck to those series. So in 2010, I missed out on some games before I started YouTube, like Alan Wake, Red Dead Redemption. There were some games I missed out on. Primarily, and I primarily missed out on those because I wasn't really into getting a variety of games. But then, when I was in high school, things really took kind of like a darker path because high school was really tough for me. People really harassed me a lot. I was the subject of a lot of harassment, and it was very difficult for me to get by in high school. And I kind of stuck to myself, stuck to these close friends that I had, but also my online friends. And in the end of 2010, I was like, all right, I need something here. Like, something's got to give. And I saw what Phil was doing, and I said, you know what? I'll make a YouTube channel. And I've said this before, and I'll say this now. The reason I made a YouTube channel was not because of Darkside Phil. I want to say that now. I made a YouTube channel because I needed it as something in my life to make me feel more happy and more accomplished. That's why I made a YouTube channel. It was partially, I saw the way I did my channel was partially influenced by Phil, but I didn't make a channel because, oh, there's Darkside Phil, great YouTuber, I'm going to make a channel because of him. I made it because there was something I needed in my life. That was why I made a YouTube channel. Phil was a component that came after that. It was like around it because I remember I got a camcorder for Christmas to record my TV like Phil did or used to do, and so that was my first couple of videos, me recording my TV with the camcorder. And as I mentioned earlier in this, I made that remix for him, and then I kind of recorded all the fan appreciation stuff I was in with him, and I kind of did a DSP mentality for my channel, like do the new playthroughs, you know. Like, let's do game releases. You know, all the game releases come out, do playthroughs. And it was familiar to me because I had watched Phil's content, him playing all the new game releases week after week after week. So I was like, oh, you know, this is kind of familiar to me. I'll try to keep up with it. And I had success here and there. It's not, I didn't really get that many views, but here and there I got a playthrough that was good. But for me, it was fulfilling because even if there were one or two people who enjoyed the content, I was still happy about it because, again, my life outside of that was really hurting me. And to have something like this as maybe a scapegoat, if you would call it that, it kind of made me feel a lot better about myself, I'd say. And it kind of strung this pattern along. And then Phil's friendship entering the picture later on, that kind of added to that. Phil's friendship came not because it was to get views in this whole channel thing. It was because I kind of felt like, you know, I valued Phil's opinions and his views on things. I thought he was a very intelligent person on the things that he said. So I was like, you know, this is an individual I kind of want to know better. You know, I like his content, you know, so there were, again, two sides to it. It's not like there was this one clear goal. And I feel that when people generalize things on YouTube, it's one clear goal. He did this because of Phil. He did this for views. He did this for this. It's like there's more to it that you're missing, you know. People don't do things just for one straight reason. There's a variety of reasons that influence their decisions, and that was really what happened with Darkside Phil, and why I kind of did that. And that's what
exactly,
led me.
man. I can relate to you 100% on that because, you know, when you said some people made the comment that, oh, you know, you were just doing it for the money or you were only in it because of Phil, but you know, when you said that you actually used the channel it's kind of a stress reliever. It's kind of kind of use the word scapegoat. And I like the use of that word because when I started on YouTube, I actually started on another channel. You know, Fiz and I, you know, you remember you and I started back on the Axe 0316 channel, and you know that we had the Time to Game Inc. channel and everything.
Right.
And we started back then, and at the time, I was going through a lot of stuff, and you know, life wasn't too great for me, and I was I kind of, like you said, Chris, I'd kind of gotten out of gaming for a little bit, but I still, played every now and then. And I saw one day it was like a Google ad or something, and it was like for like a Mario Flash game. And I was like, man, that's awesome. And then it was like, custom levels, and I was like, wow, you can make custom Mario levels. That's cool. So I searched on YouTube. I was like, custom Mario games, and sure enough, the first video that pops up is by SSOHPKC. And I was like, what is this? So I click on it, and it was called, it was a little Let's Play, and it was this guy, and he's playing this Mario game, which is cool because it's a custom game, and he's talking, but he's kind of just talking about his job and his life, and he's just kind of telling it how it is. And I was like, man, this guy's like getting all this stuff off his chest. I was like, I feel the same way. I have so much stuff that I just want to talk about. And so, I watched more and more, and after a few weeks, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And at the time, like, I didn't even know you can make money off it. Like, I didn't even know what a partnership was. I had never heard of Google AdSense. I wasn't big on, Machinima or the Game Station or, anything like that back then. I was just like, man, this could be a really good hobby, a way to relieve stress. And sure enough, I met some cool people. Fiz, we got into, like we were talking about the reviews and things and the chopping block. So I completely understand.
Did you meet Fiz through gaming?
No, we actually met in high school, and but funny enough, one of the first things we actually talked about was gaming, because like we were in class, and Fiz, you're gonna remember the teacher I'm talking about, but he was not the best teacher.
Taco.
Yeah,
Mr. Taco, did you guys say?
Yeah, basically, to give you the backstory on that, the guy was like super secretive, because he was kind of like, and I don't mean this like in any way like he was super, but he was kind of like Batman. By day he was one thing, by night he was another. So like by day he was this mild-mannered like teacher, and but like one of our other friends saw him out in his hometown, which was like, it was roughly like 45 minutes away. It was like the next town over, but he's hanging out with a bunch of metalheads, and it turned out he was like a crazy guitar player and all this stuff. So we tried to search him up on MySpace, because back then MySpace was still a thing, and we found his page, and the display picture was of a giant taco with a joint in its mouth, and it said like, it was like Mr. Uncle Dr. Taco or something. It had like 5 titles in the word taco. So like I brought it up to him, and remember what he did? Like I bring it up to him, and he got all mad at me. You remember that? I brought it up, and he starts like yelling and stuff, and I was like, dude, I was asking a question. But anyway, Fiz and I would talk in there. We talk about WoW. We talk about we were both into Yu-Gi-Oh as well, which we made a couple of videos for those.
Oh my God, Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah. Holy shit!
Yeah, and that's how we basically kill time and everything, and that's how we met. And so that's another cool thing too, like you said. There is some, as we've all seen, negativity in the YouTube community on the gaming side of things, but I think also there is a lot of positivity. Like, obviously, as we're seeing, you can meet some really cool people, you can learn some really cool things, and you can hear people, hear their stories, see their content, and you're like, these people, they're not a lot different than me, and I can relate, which is a really powerful thing. So you talked a little bit about how you and DSP met, how you found this channel, and how you guys actually met in person and everything. Now, I want to ask you first. You said that DSP, one of the good things he did was he told you not to worry about the haters. What were some of the other fond memories you had about hanging out with DSP? Because clearly there's like a divide that a lot of people really seem to pinpoint this whole thing from maybe at some point in the middle of 2011 to the present when things started going downhill. But what are your pleasant memories of hanging out with DSP? Like what kind of guy, if he has changed, and we'll get to that later, but what kind of guy was he, and what good memories do you have?
So one thing that people really get out of context is who Phil is. And I can say that all the people who have made hate videos about Phil, Evil AJ, Chris Furtado, they don't know who Phil is. Okay, sure, they watch his videos and they can form an opinion based on how he acts on the internet and the things he says, but they don't know him, because I have met in person with Phil many times. I've had breakfast, lunch, dinner. We've hung out at various places. And I will say this. Off camera, Phil is a very shy person. When the camera is not on him, like you would think of DSP always talking. You'd think someone like Phil would always be talking. Because let's face it, when you see his videos, he's always hyper, always talking about something, always ranting about something, and so on and so forth. However, in person, he is very quiet. He kind of just sits there. It's like he's always thinking about something. He's always sitting there looking at his phone, and it's always like there's something troubling him, and I don't know what it is. Sometimes he's more active. Like, if there's something going on, he's obviously moving around and doing it. But when there's downtime, he's not up socializing. He kind of just sits there, and he just kind of thinks. And it's funny because when you want to talk to him, like I say, Phil, and he kind of like moves his head like, oh, what, huh? Like someone's trying to talk to me. Like he's kind of like spaces out, almost like maybe remembering something. Like he seems like troubled by something, you know. And he made this statement. I don't know when he made this statement. He made this statement on Twitter a couple of months ago, like, oh, I've never seen myself as a good person, or I've made too many mistakes. Like it's almost like he holds this regret, and in all the things that he says in his videos, you know, the tips he gives and the great advice he gives, you know, and Ask the King and all the other things he does, the qualities that I came to admire in him. It's funny that there's almost something that kind of troubles him internally and stuff. At least from my perspective in person. Now, he's lighthearted and makes jokes and stuff. It's funny in person, like he makes, we'll make jokes every once in a while, and it's kind of funny and stuff. And it's different. It's very, very different hanging out with him in person than it is doing a playthrough. When I do a playthrough with Phil, you know, we set things up. There's a whole regime. The regime is different. When he had his camera, it was kind of just show up and let's start. With direct capture, he kind of has to get things going. And now there's like a stream where I can see people talking about me in the comments of the stream. And so right. it's a little different. And the way he does things is it's okay with me, and I generally enjoy myself when I do commentary with him. Most of the times you'll have to realize something like tips for doing commentary with DSP. He won't listen to everything you're saying 100% of the time because he's either focusing on the game, focusing on what he's recording, or focusing about some other thing. So when you make a joke, he might not always hear it or respond to it. So the mistake I made in the past was, I have to keep making jokes, and then he'll finally recognize one. But I was like, all right, well, that's not going to work because, you know, it's just his mentality. It's just how he does things. And so right. the best way to enjoy yourself when playing with him is just to have fun on your own, and then experience stuff and just comment about stuff, and then he kind of joins in on it because he's kind of in his own little world in the playthrough doing stuff. And it's funny because I've compared Phil playing games to how my father plays games, because my dad will be like, oh, that's bullshit, why didn't that guy blow up? And I'm like, Dad, you didn't do that correctly. And he's like, yeah, but no, that guy should have died. I'm like, the controls are this, Dad. Right. He's like, no, but this, and I'm like, oh. So that's kind of like with Phil. People say, Phil, you didn't do this. And he's like, well, it doesn't say this or this or this or this. And so, obviously Phil's age shows that, you know, he's really not that great at games and stuff, but that's just, there's evidence. There's evidence to show that he's not that great at games. I mean, I gave Phil my Jak and Daxter HD collection, which I mentioned earlier in the podcast. I'm a big fan of Jak and Daxter. When the HD collection came out, I gave it to him in person. He played the first one, and I remember there's a video out on YouTube, how this is how you don't play Jak and Daxter, and I'm like, oh, great. That's glad to see that I gave him the collection so that someone could make a hate video on how he sucked at the whole game. It's like, oh my god. So
right.
So I mean, those are the ins and outs of hanging out with Phil and the up moments that I've had with him. It's really been enjoyable being around him to play games. Not all the time is it fun. Sometimes when there's other people in the playthroughs that, you know, kind of rub me the wrong way. I love playing with John Rambo. He's the funniest fucking guy to play with. But
yeah, I love John. He's awesome.
Yeah, John has this kind of just laid back attitude. It's good. It doesn't come across as anything. He doesn't engage anyone. He kind of just keeps to himself. John's also a very interesting. John is way more vocal in person than he is on YouTube. I'll say that. He's very vocal. That is something I've learned about John in person. And also, he wears a hat because he doesn't have any hair on his head, but I'll just say that as well.
Wow.
That's an insider thing. Notes will go around, but let's see. So yeah, those would be all of the insider things I'd say for Phil on the positive moments that I've had with him. You know, my favorite playthroughs with him would be the Moon thing was pretty good despite the hate that I got from it. The Borderlands 2 playthrough was hilarious in many of its segments. What else? What else? I'm trying to think. I don't know. Oh, we just did Suicide Kings for GTA 5. That was fucking hilarious. Just jumping off cliffs and killing ourselves. That was pretty funny. So yeah, those are the positive moments that I can note.
That's great, man. And I like how you mentioned.
Hello?
Ooh. That somewhere else, but you know, the vast majority, they only know him from his playthroughs. So it's interesting that you can give us some insight on that. So at this moment, you know, you said that obviously you and DSP just did some content together, but and you mentioned this, I think, in one of your previous videos, and a lot of people have been talking about this, but there's a clear understanding that, and of course, you know, this is true with everybody. Everybody changes. You know, we can all agree on that. But there's been a very vocal outpouring on YouTube, people saying that Phil has changed a lot from, you know, the guy who was there until, you know, probably early 2011, and people say, usually from about, you know, the middle to late 2011 to the present, things have gone downhill. Do you think DSP has changed? And if so, when do you think that actually began?
Yes, I do think Phil has changed. I would say that it really started to, I don't know if I could say like the exact point when he started to change, but I'd say the point where things started to take an interesting turn was, I don't know if you guys remember in November 2012 where he made a video like changes coming to my channel, like changes coming to DSPGaming. He made a video like that in November. It was like 40 minutes long.
Yep.
Yeah, and he basically went through the whole thing of how he's going to separate vlogs onto the King of Hate vlogs, and he's going to do this and that and this. And then that kind of went further when in December his contract with Machinima got renegotiated, where he was making less money. So those were two things that were big turning points for him and where he started to change. Then in January, I started to become frustrated because Phil was making it very obvious that he was angry that he wasn't, A, getting as many views as he had before, and B, was in this situation where he was stuck with his money.
Right.
Couple things. First of all, he made these series, like, what was it? I forget what it was. It was where he played old classic games he used to play on his channel. The Retro Replay.
Retro.
Yep. He started doing those, and when he said that, I'm like, okay, so this is an idea of you playing games that are already archived on your other channels, like, again, and, like, I'm not saying you're just re-uploading your same content for views, but, like, it just didn't feel genuine, because, like, I felt in a way there was an underlying reason why he was doing it, because he needed this desperate attempt to get people back on his footage. He wanted to reinvigorate the DSP name and get it out there. And he thought this Retro Replay idea of playing, you know, Dead Space and Fallout, which he's still playing, would be these. That's the answer, you know. That's the thing. Ding, ding, ding. Like, this is how I save my channel.
In essence, recapture the magic maybe from the old DSP, right?
Exactly, and it's very funny because my friend Pete and I, this was somebody who I made friends with. He used to run a podcast for the King of Hate .com. It was like a fan-run podcast, and it only lasted a couple of months. Pete and I grew a friendship over 2012, and we always talked about Phil's community on Skype a lot of the time, and in the early parts of 2013, we were like talking to each other like, wow, like things are really starting to change with Phil. Where is his channel going? I remember in January we played the Sir Hammerlock DLC for Borderlands 2. And Pete joined this time. When we played Borderlands 2, it was just me, John, and Phil. I actually added Pete to this experience. And the four of us played. And immediately a couple things happened. Number one, the views were awful on the videos. And Phil, in his update, was like, I don't know why the views are horrible. And then it was really disheartening because some people in the comments were like, it's because of the AxeManGaming. I'm like, now wait a minute. It's like you people firsthand have seen what Phil has done. Retro replay announcements, fucking the changes he made in November, the way he handled things when like Pandalee was stranded at his house and he made remarks to his fans calling them out or something like that, I remember. You've seen this progression. Why are you ignoring all that for some unjust bias you have against me for all of the reasons I mentioned previous in this podcast, because of jealousy and so on and so forth? So that's, like, incorrect to make that comment. People were thumbsing it up and doing that shit, and I was like, what? Like, do people not realize, like, what I've done in this community? Like, it's very frustrating, and this is what I've always felt in the DSP community. And this was one of the reasons, I'm going to tell you guys this now, this was one of the reasons why I decided to go on this podcast, because like I said to you guys, I think, during this podcast, I'm tired of people having the wrong idea of me in this community. Now, I'm not sure how much that matters because Phil's community is ultimately waning. It's not as much as it used to be, and there's not as much kind of flow and buzz and viewership around it.
Right.
But it's definitely frustrating for me where I put a hell of a lot of effort forth in trying to be good in Phil's playthrough, so it's a frustration at the fans in that regard. And not only that, many of the good deeds that I've done from the playthrough. A perfect example would be when we did when Black Ops 2 was released, we did Transit, the zombie transit mode. Phil, Crochato, and I were going to get the gang back together because we were the three that did it for Moon. So we're like, okay, well, we need one more person. And as I said, I was developing this friendship with P-Dog or Pete, and I said to him, hey, there's one slot open, we'll get you in. And it was a hassle to do it because I had to ask Phil, can we rearrange it? Because Pete lives in Ireland. I'm like, can we rearrange it for his time, and can we do this and that? So I had to do all this stuff getting it together, and I was worried. I'm like, Pete, I got hate in my first couple of videos. You might get hate too. And he's like, all right, I'll be prepared for it. Right. What ended up happening was that the videos went up. People immediately started hating on me that I was in the playthrough. And they all started praising P-Dog. They're like, oh, he's funny, he's a great addition, he's this, he's that, he's this and that and this. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, whoa. You're praising a guy who I was very kind and I put a shit ton of effort into getting him into this fucking playthrough. And now you're not only insulting me for all the reasons I said before, but now you're praising him because you like his accent or some other bullshit. It's like what? Like what? Like,
right.
And this is like atrocious. This is just like really fucking stupid. And that whole instance was where I changed to direct capture because I felt like my channel was losing viewership drastically. The DSP situation was getting out of control. People had this insanely wrong mentality of me, and it was just all these things. Like nobody was realizing the things I was trying to do. Every time in Phil's playthrough, I would try to make people realize what I would do for Phil. Like, if, for example, when we played the Borderlands 2, the Sir Hammerlock DLC I mentioned, I purposely found legendary weapons and really high-ranked weapons in Borderlands 2, and I saved them in my inventory so I could give them to Phil and John so that they had good weapons. And guess what the comments were? Nobody said, oh, that was really cool, TheAireaidLord, he's a cool guy. People said, oh, look at TheAireaidLord trying to get attention, I got these weapons, nobody cares. It's like, what? You guys bitch about Phil not doing well in video games, well, here's some fucking things that'll make him do well in the game. Like, why are you bitching like a bunch of 4-year-olds? Like, it doesn't make any sense. The logic makes no fucking sense. And this frustration has been, like, ginormous with me, but I haven't cared about it that much over the past couple of months because, A, I'm in college. I don't really have as much time to go on the channel as I used to. B, as I said, Phil's community's kind of waning a lot. And, C, if you can believe it, public opinion of me has kind of changed in a slight way. Despite this kind of controversy with the video I made, public opinion of me is kind of starting to change. When I go into Phil's stream chats, people recognize me more and have a lot of respect for me. I'm not sure why it's changed, but people are starting to have this respect for me. One of the things I've been doing is I've been talking to people in the stream chat, just texting, and I've kind of shown who I am through that. So I guess all the playthroughs I did with Phil meant absolutely fucking nothing. I guess that I couldn't show myself through that. So
Right.
So I guess text-based, not talking, is the best way to do it, and people respond. It's like, what? Like, I don't get the internet. It's so weird.
Yeah, the internet it's a unique beast, but I'll say this, and this is a saying that my grandfather had, and he said, if a man has enough character, he can be spoken for in complete silence, which means, it always meant to me that if you show you're a good person, if you're cool, you're laid back, you're legitimate, you do what you say you're going to do, and you don't have any ulterior motives, and you're not tearing people down, people will know. What kind of person you are. Like I said, with you, the thing was, we were getting all these videos about Phil. Everything was about Phil. The montages about Phil. The videos talking about comments Phil had sent out to people and tweets Phil had sent out to people. But with you, it was almost like he had kind of kept you in the background. And like you said, it seemed like he had kind of referred to you as that kind of a kid. And to me, like I said, I don't know a lot about the situation, but it seemed to me, just from, an outsider's perspective, that he was kind of trying to, in a way, kind of push you out of the picture. Maybe not purposely, but like you said, because he said he had some problems with his viewership dwindling, and his fan base was, a lot of people were kind of actually turning against him. So maybe he was, kind of in panic mode, what am I going to do? And it seemed like he kind of got pushed away. And I think the disconnect happened because you were upset about that. And it came off to a lot of people, and initially to me and Fiz, like, okay, that's kind of weird, but, you brought it across like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not just this guy who was like, hey, Phil, I want to do a call with you. You were this guy who was actually really good friends with Phil, and you had to kind of watch as this guy, for lack of a better term, kind of started to go into a downward spiral. And from an outsider's perspective, most people, if they see that, they would just be like, that sucks. But for you, being an actual, good friend of Phil's that had texted him, that had talked to him, and met him in person and everything, that had to be very hard for you to watch him go into, that kind of downward spiral. Which
I felt bad for him. I felt bad for that. I couldn't do anything, and I honestly just, I sat back, and I even said this in the video that I made private. I said, for so long, I sat back and just watched all the things you just said happen to Phil, and I've disagreed with a lot of the things that he's done, and I said these in the video, like some of the things, like when his Earthbound, like he had this, another great idea. His great idea for summer 2013 was retro gaming, Earthbound, and all these classic games that he played when he was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And the views weren't that great for them, and he was pissed about it. And this can be seen in a couple of places. Like, one video where he was given a condo tour, he's like, oh, here's a magnet of Earthbound. I wish people would watch the playthrough. Hint, hint, hint. It's like, Phil, it's like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, why are you begging people? It just showed, like, how, I don't know if I want to say, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word to describe it. It just showed a lot about where he was, that mental state you were talking about earlier, and it made me uneasy because I was just seeing these controversial things. Another thing he did is when he started blaming, he's like, people watch Minecraft, and that's a waste of time. My Earthbound playthrough is clearly better. It's a classic. It's way better than Minecraft. Stop watching Minecraft. Come watch my videos. It's like, Phil, I understand you're hurting because Phil is frustrated for many reasons. First of all, he wants to get his back fixed, and he wants to move out. He hates his cramped condo, and he hates his hurting back. He was thinking that the money he would get and the grow in his channel would help him get the surgery and move out so he could be with his girlfriend. Neither of those things happened. And I'll say this. I had a personal conversation with Phil. Nobody knows this, so I'll keep this to the podcast. And Phil talked to me, when was this? Over the phone. And he said, yeah, man, I'm hoping in summer 2013 to move out with Pandalee, get my back fixed. Now, he told me this in 2012. So it must have been really hard for him to now still be in his condo after he had those plans. Right. It really hurt him because he was looking forward to that, and he wanted to kind of just change. He was looking to ride the positive wave. He really wanted to kind of get to that point where he could do the things that he wanted, move forward with his life, kind of get bigger space so he could do bigger and better things. And that was always his thing. He said to me, he's like, Chris, I'll do direct capture when I get a bigger place. You know, I know I can do it. And even he said to me again, he's like, it's a mess. Like, he's like, it's a fire hazard what I have going here with the direct capture in my condo.
Right.
It's dangerous, the wires that are going all through this fucking place. And he rushed it out. He panicked. In March, he's like, all right, direct capture, that's the answer. It's all these answers, remember. Retro replay, that's the answer. Oh, direct capture, I gotta rush out, that's the answer. And to me, being his friend, I saw each of these things as his response to his desperation to the views situation. I remember I had this joke with Pete. Now, this was kind of mean, but I had this joke with my friend Pete. I called him View Side to Phil, because I was like, everything he does is... I was like, everything he does now is for views in a sense.
Right.
Like, I can't...
Right, I get you.
I can't watch his playthroughs without feeling some sort of sense that this is for views. His commentary is forced because of views. Like, a lot of the things he's done has been because of views. What made Phil so great is because he was very laid back in the past. He kind of let things just happen. He just uploaded videos. Here's the videos. If you like them, do what you just laid back. Here you go. Here are the videos, and that's it. And Phil lost that laid back attitude, and then he tried to tell people, no, wait, I'm still laid back. Look at the things I'm doing. But that wasn't laid back. Telling people you're laid back isn't being laid back. And that was he didn't understand that. So then he started making these changes and changes and changes and changes and changes and changes. And it snowballed in the worst of ways. And I remember in the podcast you guys made, you held me to my prediction. Unfortunately, I still think it's true. In either 2014 or 2015, I don't think Phil's going to make a video one day saying, guys, paid my taxes, doesn't look like this is going to work anymore. It looks like I'm going to have to find a job. And that's going to happen one of these days. And I fear for when that happens. I don't know when it's going to, but I know one of these days it's probably going to happen. I don't know when, but it upsets me. It does, because I've had a lot of history with the guy. I remember the guy back when he was in 2008, and it's been a crazy change, like you said, and, you know, it's unfortunate. It is. So.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And Fiz, you know, you can vouch for this because, you know, after Chris messaged me and I was talking to you, like, you know, we were discussing this, and I was like, you know, one thing we can tell right off is that, you know, this isn't a guy who's saying, oh man, you know, I was supposed to co-op with this guy, and this is all about playing video games, getting views for my channel, and I'm mad. After, you know, we hear this now, I think everybody's gonna realize, you know, Chris, you know, you were, you know, a guy who was worried about his friend. You know, Fiz, you and I drew a comparison to, it was a guy we knew in high school who kind of started going on a downward spiral, and we kind of see that same thing, you know, happen with Phil. And, you know, Fiz, you know, you can vouch for, because we've been DSP fans for a long time, and we don't want to see him kind of go out this way, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And.
Right. And one thing I must say, DSP, man, you know, I enjoy his content. We all enjoy his content. But in reality, though, looking at it, he pretty much did this to himself because of the fact that he would lash out at his fans. Like I said in our previous videos, you can't do that and expect things to get better. It's just going to, you know, continue to, you know, down spiral. It's going to get worse. And the thing is, he constantly say, oh, I'm going to change. Things are going to get better. And then he go on a pissy rant again. And it's like, you know, people are just tired of it, you know, and they're just not going to put up with it. And it shows because lack of views, lack of subscribers, and, you know, look at the situation that he's in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, Chris, like you said, you know, you've been seeming like you're kind of trying there, because interestingly enough, it's like you're one of the people in the community who has the ability to kind of reach him. It seems like that's what you've been trying to do. So it seems like you've been less worried about, you know, meeting up with him and playing games, and more so it's like, you know, this is my friend. He's in a bad place, and it's really causing him to, you know, do some things around his character. Which brings me to my next question, and this is one that a lot of people are curious about. Fiz, you know, you and I talked about this. We were really excited to ask you about this, Chris, because I've heard a lot of things about this. I'll admit, I've watched some videos, I've heard both sides of the story, and there's an old saying, if you hear two sides of the story, the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. So the question is, we were talking about how DSP has done some things that have caused his fans to, view him in a negative light and everything, and this is one of those situations. Chris, what is your opinion on the entire deal with DSP getting his gaming PC made? The debates about he was sent a PC that didn't work properly. There was an issue with a debate about what amount of money was spent, and now the two apparently aren't friends anymore. Apparently DSP went off on him one night in a chat about direct capture or something, and now he's Can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Well, while we're on the topic of, you guys have been making a lot of proverbs, so I'll offer a proverb of my own before we start. Do not mistake a fart for a shit. All right. On that note, just wanted to lighten the mood a little bit there. Anyway, all right, so...
Wise words.
Yes. I remember when I was in Taekwondo, one of the guys I was sparring said that to me, and I'm like, well, now I might shit my pants while sparring you, thanks. So... All right, so it was the day after I made that giant DSP video. Phil reached out and said, I want to talk to you on the phone. I was like, okay. So after he picked up, what was it? I think it was Pikmin 3. After he came back from the store, he called me on my phone, and we had about a 2-hour chat on the phone. And one of the things, I was actually curious, because I didn't know all the details. And it was mainly, I saw this MightyFurtado war, and I saw the video, The Truth Comes Out, about DSP. Everyone was using this as ammunition. I'm like, okay. And I honestly was like, I didn't want to take MightyFurtado's side. I'm like, a lot of these details he's telling about Phil don't seem really like things Phil would do. So Phil basically told me, and I said, Phil, I'm curious, I know this doesn't really pertain to our situation, but what happened with MightyFurtado? And he basically, I'm going to be honest, I was half listening to him because I kind of wanted to get to the piece where it concerned us. But he did talk to me about it, and what he said was that here was a guy that Phil was nice to, because MightyFurtado reached out to Phil many times, and Phil helped him. Like, the whole PC thing was a project for some school-related thing that MightyFurtado was doing. And basically, Phil received the computer, and I guess there were some things wrong with it, like there were some pieces cracked. And again, Phil made a video addressing the negativity where he pretty much talks about this whole thing. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he basically defends himself on the whole thing of what happened with MightyFurtado. But one of the two big things, the website, all of the advertisements on the website, Chris and Teo, which I don't even know who Teo is, I've never seen him or heard of him, but Chris, I know, made money, ad revenue, from the ads that are on the kingofhate.com. So Phil allowed that. He allowed, he allowed to do that. So this was something that Phil said this, and I agreed with him. You take a little bit of truth and twist it, and then people make these assumptions, just like with me. We've seen that, just you guys have realized that you take this little bit of truth about me and you twist it.
Right.
So people are like, oh, MightyFurtado made this website for Phil. That was so nice of him. Phil, you're an asshole. Look at what you did to MightyFurtado. Okay, that wasn't just a one-sided deal. MightyFurtado got a pretty big payout in the form of that website, making ad revenue over the months and, continuously doing it. And Phil got to the point where he was like, I kind of want to buy the domain of the website from you guys. And I'm not sure what happened after that, but basically it was a period of, I guess, MightyFurtado behind Phil's back on the forums was basically criticizing Phil. This was before he did direct capture, criticizing Phil. Oh, he doesn't do direct capture. He's this, he's that. Basically gathering like this cult following on Phil's website against him and what he's doing. And Phil kind of ignored it, but then I guess he got to the point where he had it, and I guess one of the reasons why he lashed out to him on the Twitch, that those screen captured things where he showed him on Twitch, he got back late, he made his, and then this was accumulative stuff, a couple of things. He was desperate for his views with his direct capture thing. The direct capture stuff wasn't working. He was trying to get it to work because he was so desperate. and it was partially because of some things wrong with the computer. So, and because of Chris and all the things that he was saying to him, a combination of all those things basically allowed him to lash out at MightyFurtado. And Phil kind of said, what the hell? You sold me a lemon. You did this. You did that. And then so Chris is like, oh, boo-hoo, look what Phil did to me, and I did all this stuff for him. It's like, well, that isn't really the case. You guys kind of had a mutual agreement. So MightyFurtado's lying in a big sense. He's basically making himself out to be this big ultimate victim, when in reality he had a lot of say in the things that happened. He didn't really elaborate on a lot of the things that he did, and he's trying to say, oh, Phil's a liar, I hate when people lie, and it's like, well, dude, you're not really being honest about what you did in this whole arrangement. Like, my video, the reason why the first 40 minutes of that video that was private is about me, it's because I wanted to be honest. This is me. This is what I did with Phil. Now here's how things have changed. MightyFurtado just said, look at Phil, he's an asshole, look what he did to me, and look at what I did for him. It's like, well, you kind of left out details there, dude. And Phil told me those details, and he made a video telling his fans about those details. And it was funny because after Phil made that addressing the negativity, I don't know if you guys know this, but MightyFurtado had a stream, like a night stream, where it was like a woe is me stream, like come to the stream and voice your opinions and I'll talk to you about them. So I went to the stream and I said, dude, couple things. First of all, you don't know Phil. He's a totally different person, a guy in person. Second of all, I don't think it's right that his fans are calling you cancer and attacking you. That's not right either.
Right.
And third, just drop it. I said to MightyFurtado, dude, like, enough. Like, just stop. Like, you could have stopped this a long time ago. Why did you have to have this cult following against Phil? Why did you have to speak out against him doing direct capture or not? Who fucking cares if he does direct capture or not? Just because you're the head of his website doesn't mean you have a say in whether he does direct capture or not. It's not your fucking say. I know because you have this whole arrangement, you sent him his PC and you did all these things, you think you have this say in his decision, but you don't. You don't have a say, and I don't know why you feel like you need to have a say, and it's not right. So that's kind of where that came from. And it's not like I'm taking Phil's side in this. Maybe Phil did blow up a little bit on Chris, maybe unwarranted in some parts. And maybe I don't have all of the exact details on the specs of the PC and how much money was spent and all those little details, the fine print details. But I can tell you overall that details were not shared. Like, the truth wasn't revealed. Like, that video, the truth comes out. I don't think the truth came out. I think part of the truth came out. That video should really be called Part of the Truth Came Out. Because he only revealed a segment of what actually happened. And Phil ignored it, doing what, he usually does, ignored it. But then so many people were attacking him with it, he's like, all right, that's it. I can't fucking take it. Here, you guys want to know the truth? Here's the fucking truth. And then people were like, gee, wow, we really didn't, we didn't know about that. And then it's just, oh my God. So, yeah, that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting because, Fiz, you kind of had that exact same suspicion because we were saying like a lot of we were as fans of DSP, we were being literal, we were being critical, saying a lot of the things he did bring on himself. But Fiz, I think you even made a comment, when we were we watched one video about MightyFurtado and Chris and DSP, everything going on, and the debacle about the computer and the website and all this stuff. Yeah. And Fiz, you made a comment. You're like, I don't think we're hearing the whole story. And I was like, yeah, I kind of get that vibe too.
Yeah.
It just seemed like something was out of place.
Yeah, it seemed like it was very, very conveniently told. Like when. The thing I liked about when Phil told his side, I mean, he was honest about it. He was just kind of straightforward, and I'll give him that because there's some things where I think, okay, he may have misspoke, and sometimes where I think, okay, he could have chosen his words a little more carefully. But in that situation, it did strike me as wow, he seems to be being kind of honest about this. And people were saying, oh, but he's not showing, the receipts for how much he spent for the computer. He's not presenting evidence. And I was like, first of all, here's my thing. Here's my thing. When it comes to somebody else's financial endeavors, I don't need to see evidence of that. And I think that comes from a lot of people who maybe they're just a little bit younger, maybe something, but usually, for the most part, people don't like to discuss their financial details with others. It's just not something we do. And with DSP especially in this whole thing, like you said, with maybe he did blow up, but it was interesting you were talking about MightyFurtado because, you know, Fiz, you said it, and I kind of got that vibe too, that we weren't really getting the whole story, which, see, I didn't know that thing about the ads either on the website. That is very interesting because at the time when that website was made, you know, that was when DSP was really kind of, popularity was kind of skyrocketing, if I remember, and, you know, they were loving it. It was kind of, I hate to use the term, but it really was the old DSP. And so, and I can imagine that was probably a decently lucrative investment for Chris, and, you know, probably a really convenient thing to have happen. And I'm surprised that I've never heard that mentioned before. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but still, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a very interesting factor that kind of changed up the discussion a bit.
Yeah, that he was making money from the website, and, you know, and he also, another thing, he kind of wanted his channel to get popular as well, so he was angry that Phil was getting more popular than him with a camera when he was doing direct capture stuff. That was another thing I don't think he mentioned. So, yeah.
Now it's getting interesting. See, this is the kind of stuff that I think a lot of people maybe suspected, but we didn't have any you know, anybody who would know, like you would, Chris, to kind of step in and
because Phil told me a lot of this stuff in person and voice, because even I was skeptical, and it got to the point where, like people were just, like, actively, like, agreeing with MightyFurtado, and it was just, like, I don't know, it got to just a weird point with that, but, I don't really, I mean, that's kind of between Phil and MightyFurtado, so that's why I didn't really investigate, and then I was just curious when I was on the phone with him, so that's why I asked.
Right, yeah, that's cool, man, and this kind of brings us to the next topic, and this is something that the community feels very, very strongly about, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I want to ask you about Pandalee, because I know, but see, here's the thing. Everybody knows that you know, she's DSP's girlfriend. That's cool and everything. They make each other happy. Awesome. You know, nobody's saying anything to the contrary of that. Well, at least we aren't. But my question to you is, because of, I'll just say her attitude. I'll just put it that way. Or better yet, maybe a better term would be her behavior. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I just mean the way she conducts herself, the way she speaks, her actions. Not that I'm saying they're negative or bad. I'm just, you know, talking about her appearance, you know, as a presence in the playthroughs and in the videos as a whole. What do you think her effect has been on DSP's channel and on his YouTube career?
Well, so, funny thing about Pandalee. So, there's a video still up of this. I interviewed her in February 2012. And it's us sitting in a lobby. I don't know if you've ever seen this video. It's the two of us, while Phil went to get food, the two of us sitting in a lobby for the game Twisted Metal. Because the three of us played together on the PlayStation 3 when it came out. And she told me how she met Phil. This is how they met. She quite literally sent him a private message on YouTube. He responded. She sent him some pictures. He responded more. They went back and forth. And that's how that happened. I'm not lying, wow. That's how that happened. That is literally... Now, people... Wait a minute. Okay. So now people say my relationship and how I met Phil was weird. Okay, just think about that. At least I met the fucking guy and got his number in person before anything more happened with us doing other things, okay? Like, before I went to... Yeah. Just think about that, first of all.
Right.
Second of all, she's a year older than me. I'm 18, she's 19. We'll establish that. Second... I held my tongue because that's my friend's girlfriend, okay? And I remember one of my friends said this, you don't say anything about a bro's hoe. Well, yeah, I didn't want to...
Right.
I didn't want to say anything about, it's his girlfriend, and I didn't, it would be very controversial if I said anything or if I started taking people's side. But I'll say a couple of things. First of all, I don't like her attitude. I really don't like her attitude, and I do think it brings a negative vibe to the channel, okay? Mm-hmm. I remember when there was a video being played on Phil's Hate Live stream, And she's like, why am I not in the video? And this is the first time I've ever spoke out against her. I said, Leanna, this is her name, and I address her by her name because I met her in person before, and I said, Leanna, not every video has to be about you. You do realize that. And then she's like a child. She's like, well, not every video is about you either. I'm like, oh my fucking God. It's like, yeah, that's a nice intelligent response. It's like, really? Like, it's just, like, I'm criticizing her not because she's a girl or anything like that. I'm criticizing her because of her behavior towards people. Many times, like, I'll ask the stream chat, like, she pisses people off in the stream chat. It was funny. People were like, you know, D-mod, Pandalee, make AxeManGaming mod. I'm like, whoa. If Phil sees this is going to, oh my God. And then there was, like, a whole bunch of people, like, writing that. I'm like, guys, stop. Oh. So I haven't said anything about her, you know, for a long, long time. And I hung out with her in person when at Too Many Games. She went to Too Many Games with Phil, so I saw her in person. In person, she's not that bad. I think she gives off a worse vibe.
Right.
In the gameplay videos. Like,
I can't make up words off the...
Yeah.
Me too.
I think Operation Raccoon City was like the first playthrough where everyone started hating her. There's a video on YouTube, this is how you don't do co-op commentary, and sure enough, it's her.
I just watched that the other day, because there were like, if I'm not mistaken, there was, I know one for sure, but maybe two before that where they did co-op, and I think one was like a Valentine's special, because DSP was doing one update video, and this is interesting because you mentioned how Phil in real life is different than Phil, you know, on you know, his channel, and you know, everybody had kind of always wondered, people have speculated, you know, does this guy have a girlfriend? Because all you do, well, at least from our perspective, all you see is this guy sitting on his couch and hanging out in his condo and playing games. And you don't really think, you know, this is an actual person with a life and, you know, family, friends, relationships, interests, and hobbies outside of that going on behind the scenes that you don't see. So one day he just casually mentions, I forget in what context, but he mentioned his girlfriend. Dude, the comment section goes batshit crazy. Oh my God, DSP has a girlfriend. Oh my God, we want to see her. Oh, DSP, you know, you got to bring her into a playthrough. So everybody was initially like super excited. Like there was a huge, just colossal amount, like you said, this positivity. Everybody was excited to see her. And they did a Valentine's Day playthrough. I think it was like a special, and it might have been like Jack and Daxter. It was like Ratchet and Clank or something along those lines. It escapes me the exact game it was, but nonetheless, people were liking it because she was kind of, you know, just commentating the way she should have. And I say that because of this. You know, everyone has a different commentary style on YouTube, but there is, I guess, kind of an etiquette that forms when you do commentary with other people, that there's some things you don't say, you don't go at other people, you don't try to steal the show, you kind of know when to say your part, when to hang back. And in the Valentine's Day special, it was great. Everybody was happy. But then, like you said, Operation Raccoon City came out, and oh my God, I was like completely surprised because, like, there are a couple points in there where she's like screaming at them, and like every single video, or yeah, pretty much every single part of the playthrough after maybe the first 3 or 4 videos, she was nuts. Yeah, it was absolutely insane. And she's just like.
It's funny, I want to reference you guys to a video. I don't know what the video's called. It's basically Pandalee sitting on the couch, aiming the camera at Phil while Phil's doing something. And they were supposed to go shopping, but I think it's a video for her channel. And this is where you can see DSP acting like himself off of YouTube. Because it wasn't for his channel and it wasn't anything he actively planned. A lot of the videos on Pandalee's channel actually show Phil very much how he is in real life. Because he's not scripted. He's just kind of acting like his old self. And you can see this. There's actually a weird moment where Pandalee asks Phil a question, and for 10 seconds he doesn't respond, just sits there. And then he looks up, huh? And then you can see that on video for yourself, right. And that'll give you the idea of how he kind of acts when he's not scripted in his own content. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point because like you said, you know, and Fiz, you and I were talking about this playthrough. We were actually talking about the exact video that you mentioned, Chris. This is how you don't do co-op commentary, because it's like in every single video, she was always, and I don't know if maybe it was just like a mistake on her part. Maybe she was just trying to, I guess, be entertaining because Phil's hilarious, John's hilarious. Maybe she was just trying to keep up, but she was making joke after joke after joke, and then she would get to the point where if she wasn't getting enough attention on her, she would start yelling at other people. If anything happened, well, if you guys hadn't
I'll
done
tell you guys this. The
Right.
other guy who was in that co-op playthrough, Korochado, I'm friends with Korochado. Korochado, I don't know his exact words, and I said, hey, when they make a sequel to Operation Raccoon City, and I always mess with him, I'm like, hey, when they make a sequel to Operation Raccoon City, you gonna play with the 3-man team? He's like, and then and then he just sat there, he's like, yeah, right, and he was just kind of laughing, and I'm like, why? He's like, come on, you don't want to play with your favorite 3-man team? He's like, yeah, if I have to sit there
in the closet.
yeah, if I have to sit there and be fucking lectured. So he, in an indirect way, kind of said that Pandalee fucking made him nuts. So even the people that were in the playthrough were other people, but again, he keeps quiet. I mean, he barely does anything with his channel. But that was just an aside that other people share this opinion, and I don't. It's just weird that, I don't know. I just feel her attitude is just very whiny and just very needy, and just for someone like Phil who kind of has these morals and beliefs, like, I don't want to say this, but it's just, I guess it would be a step too far if I did, but in the bottom of my heart, I don't feel like she's the right person for Phil. Just opinion. But right. I don't, because I know the type of person Phil is. I was, saw him in person before he met her, and I just, I don't know. Maybe it's just very weird. It's just very frustrating because she's just very needy. Like, she'll call Phil in the middle of his playthroughs. Like, she'll ring his house while he's doing a playthrough. It's like, why? Like, there are some playthroughs where you can hear this. Oh, that's my girlfriend calling. It's on YouTube.
Oh my goodness.
And he just kind of says, he's like, oh, there's my girlfriend calling, and and then there's even some videos at some other convention that I didn't go to where he's like, oh, well, can you, like, he was in a tournament, and she's like, yeah, you go, and he's like, all right, can you please just shush, and I'm like, everyone in the comments is like, she got the silent treatment. Yeah, it's just, it just, I don't know, I'm
sorry, I'm very forward with what I say, I apologize, but anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it seemed like at first, because like some people were saying, oh, it's just misogyny. They're saying, well, the internet it breeds misogyny. It's a bunch of young teen guys. And I was like, wait a minute, wait. I was like, what about K-pop? What about Ash Bear? What about I can't think of her name, but the Miles' sister, the guy who does the Dreamcast games. I can't think of her name for the life of me, but there are a lot of girl gamers, and they do commentary and gameplay on YouTube, and people love them, man. I mean, they got tons of subs and they get tons of views. And some people say, oh, it's just because they're learners. Like, no, these girls don't even do in a lot of videos, they don't even do face cams. They just have really good gameplay, really good commentary, and they build a fan base. With consistent uploads, and they give the fans entertaining content. With her, it's like, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like
very whiny, very needy. All that stuff.
Yeah.
She even says her profile on Facebook is, I turned my job, my YouTube hobby into a full-time job. I'm like, no, Phil turned his hobby into a full-time job. You came along for the fucking ride. It's like, what is this shit?
Right.
Oh my god.
Right. Yeah. It seems to me like she has to try to be in the spotlight. She has to try to be in the spotlight.
She's a gold digger.
well, she better be careful because apparently the well's about to run dry.
Yeah. Oh my god. So, well, that's all I really have to say about that. I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but I don't know. I don't know. So that's really my opinions on that. Hello? Does chat run freeze again?
I'm fine with having her in playthroughs, but the vlog videos should just be you. And Phil commented back and told the guy, "You're a fucking idiot." And I was like, that kind of caught me off guard. It's like, okay, I understand, I'm chivalrous, I made a video a while back about, my experience with CVS and the girl, so everybody knows what I go through, for my beliefs in that regard. But the fact remains, I can tell this is something I think Phil, it might be in his best interest not to include her as much, because it seems like such a hot topic, especially for him, because I guess, he feels obligated to defend her. But I mean, when a guy simply says, I'm fine with her in the playthroughs, but the vlog should just be you, and Phil says you're a fucking idiot, that is going to breed some controversy. That is going to cause people to come down on him, and it did.
He just lets his emotions get the better of him. I don't know why sometimes he does that. He lets his emotions get the better of him, and he sometimes doesn't think sometimes, and, he's got to stop that. He's 31. At what point, you got to kind of mature in that aspect and not kind of do that kind of stuff. Like, don't call people fucking idiots. You don't know the guy. It could be a kid you're calling. Just don't do that.
Right. Right, yeah, exactly. And it's a situation which, as we said, it's caused a lot of people to really react negative about him. And, now we're seeing this huge kind of movement on YouTube. And I'll be honest, I've never seen anything like this before. Like, even on forums, when I used to go to Pojo all the time, even troll threads there, I've never seen anything like this. And what I'm talking about is this movement against Phil. There have always been videos of people who they made parody accounts, but it was always kind of like 2 and 3 people who would, say something every now and then just let it go for, weeks at a time. But now you see constant videos. For example, the "This is how you don't play" series has gotten huge. There are the DSP tries.
That's a big thing. I never realized that. It's like huge.
It's huge. Yeah, it's turned into like an entire series of its own. It's like the new Let's Play. But the DSP tries it videos where it's like, DSP tries it bullying, DSP tries it, fuck your opinions, DSP tries it, and all this different stuff. But what I want to ask you is this. A lot of these videos seem to cite some good evidence. They cite things that Phil said. Sometimes they cite actual comments that he made. But sometimes it seems like some of the stuff is taken out of context. Do you think these videos critiquing Phil are justified, or is it a smear campaign, or is it a little of both?
I'd say it's a little of both, but there's no. I've commented on some of these videos, and I even commented on one of Evil AJ's videos, and he responded, and I said, "Dude, why are you doing this? Just stop." Like, Phil is correct when he says you're wasting your time. Like, you're wasting your time going to all his videos, and let me just say this. If you truly hate Phil, you won't watch him and you won't spend your time trying to destroy him. Do you not fucking realize that when you go to every single one of his videos, when Evil AJ made that glorious fucking montage of "This is how you don't play Metal Gear" and all those other games, he had to go to every single playthrough that Phil did, that, parts 1 through 70 or whatever it was. Guess what? Mm-hmm. When you click on Phil's video, you give him a view. Guess what a view gives him? Money. So guess what, Evil AJ? You just gave Phil, how many videos have you made of him sucking at games? How many videos have you gone to take for your little montages? How much money have you given Phil in his pocket? Phil ultimately laughs at you because all you're doing is giving him more viewership. I know in the long run it looks like, as you said, the smear campaign, maybe that is where he'll lose the viewership. But what you're doing is still supporting Phil in a way. You're still going to all his videos and giving views. It doesn't matter if you dislike or if you view it. He's with Machinima. I'm with Machinima, so I know how the payout system works. It's by views. Doesn't matter if you click the ads. It doesn't matter. If you view the video, every 1,000 views, you get $2. I don't know if I'm not allowed to say that or not. Maybe Machinima will come at me with sniper rifles, but fuck it. Every 1,000 views, $2. Okay? Evil AJ. Mm-hmm. How many times have you gone to those videos? Did you contribute to those 1,000 views to give Phil that money? Maybe. I'm not sure. But that's, first of all, why I tell people you're wasting your fucking time. Why are you going to say, like, I'm not going to... All right, I don't like Syndicate. I'm going to say, I don't like Syndicate. I think he's greedy, and I think he floats his money around, and he's not funny. I'm not going to go to all of Syndicate's videos, pick out the moments I don't like, and make a montage, because even if I have ad block enabled and all this other crap, I'm still giving the fucking guy views, so he shows up more in the YouTube, in the search things, more views you get showed up in that search bar thing, and I'm giving him money because of the network that he's with. It makes no sense, and ultimately, if I was to make one about Syndicate, he has too many followers, and I would be brushed under the rug, so it's not like it even matters. And for Phil seems to be trying to combat this with his whole DS positive movement, if you want to call it that. DS positive, instead of, negativity, DS positive, let's make some positive videos, which, have there been any, I'm going to ask you guys this, have you seen any, videos in the past couple of weeks that have been, for this positive thing, this movement?
I saw one. I thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to be positive. It said, I'm sorry to DSP, and I clicked on it. It was like, I'm sorry that you're an asshole, and that your channel's going to be gone in 2 years. So I don't think the DS positive thing is getting over in the way you would have hoped. What do you think, Fiz? Have you seen any videos like that?
I have not. I haven't. I haven't had any chance to check out any videos, just because, like you, Chris, I'm in college as well, so pretty much my life is focusing on my.
Yeah, but I haven't seen really any positive videos about it. I remember him saying, let's see some positive videos, let's try to do this, because like you said, I think the biggest danger here, it's like I can even say this with the "this is how you don't play" stuff. Some of those videos I can kind of understand, if only for this reason. I realize when people get frustrated and they get angry, they say things, but it's like. And a lot of those games say Metal Gear. A lot of those games are people's childhood, and I'm never gonna tell somebody on YouTube, hey, you have to play a game the way I play it or you're wrong, because that's not only unrealistic, that's a little selfish as well. But I think the danger to Phil is when he's criticizing these games and he's saying this sort of stuff, whether it's in jest or whether it's out of momentary frustration, maybe because he's not understanding the controls, or maybe it's just not his style of the game and he can't adapt to it as well as, say, another genre of game. I think he's really throwing a lit match, into a powder keg, because there are a lot of people out there, especially when he granted, universal amnesty, as he called it, and he unblocked everyone that he had ever blocked. In hindsight, that may not have been the best idea, because now you just see this huge, overwhelming movement. And I see all these people, this is how you don't play this and that. And some of them are mildly funny, but...
Universal amnesty? That sounds like a plan Hitler made to invade America. What the fuck?
Yeah. The danger, in my opinion, now is, and he hit the nail on the head, is if he doesn't do something to stave off this negativity, something effective, what's going to happen is, if anybody wants to, they discover DSP in a video, let's say they just see it on the sidebar or something. Maybe they're watching a Metal Gear video and, they see a video with DSP playing Metal Gear or something, and they go and click on it and it's making fun of him. It's, him struggling with the game, him blaming game developers and all this stuff. And they don't know like you said, the real DSP and everything. That's really going to hurt DSP in the long run, because it could give people, they could make up their minds right then. First impressions are everything.
Yeah. So, boy, can you guys hear me? I didn't know if the mic cut out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Yeah, I definitely agree that you see all of those, things on the side of DSP's things. Now, there's kind of been something that's been bouncing around in my head that I wanted to say, okay? This is something I was going to say on my videos, but I have the opportunity to say it here, okay? You guys want to know the real reason why I was angry at Phil, why I made that big video, and why I've been very disappointed, and why the whole situation has been kind of hurtful to me. There's one big overall reason, okay? I mentioned to you earlier in this podcast how I had a friendship with this guy, Pete, And I met him through, as I said, this fan podcast thing that was for Phil's site. And as I said, our friendship was based upon talking about things in Phil's community. It was very fun for the both of us, and it was very fun in how things went and how things kind of progressed. And that was something that kept our friendship. I don't want to say it was the only thing that kept our friendship going, but it was a very fun aspect of it. There were many times when we just go on Skype and talk about the latest thing Phil was doing and so on and so forth. It was very interesting because, now I'll say on a personal level, that a lot of things changed with my friendship with Pete in 2013. And it happened around the time of this February, March kind of thing. Now, things between us changed, but there was something that I noticed that we lost when we talked. We kind of talked a lot about our friendship, and in the past we talked a lot about Phil. And I noticed as Phil started to make these decisions and as Phil started to become less of someone to watch and more of someone to revere, it basically took away this fun aspect that we had in wanting to interact with Phil and wanting to do different things with him. And it's a frustration with me, and I say it this way, it's like, so not only is Phil kind of, like, even, I remember when, like, Phil would, like, when I said the text messages, you guys mentioned this in your podcast, I would text Phil about doing games and suggestions. Sometimes I reached out to him because I knew he was hurting, and he rarely responded to those text messages. Now, it's not like he has to always respond to a text message. Like, you guys were kind of saying, well, you don't have to always respond to a text message and stuff, but I was sending them out of a genuine care about his mental stability. And also because I was going through things of my own, because this friendship of mine with this guy was deteriorating, not just with Phil, but with Pete. I had two friendships that were deteriorating, all because of this whole thing that was going on with Phil. It was affecting more than he realized, and I didn't think he understood that.
Oh.
And I basically, I couldn't explain it to Phil in the best of ways, and I kind of danced around the subject when I was talking to him, like once in a while and stuff, but it just got to the point of it really being ridiculous. It just got to the point where it really was ridiculous. Like, every time I would do a co-op playthrough where Pete was in it with Phil, Pete would come out of the playthrough. That was really boring. That was stupid. Like, here, a perfect example, Suicide Kings. I did Suicide Kings, and P-Dog was in it with me and Phil and all the whole DSP gang. If this was 2012, 2011, P-Dog would be shitting his pants. He'd be having the funnest fucking time. When we left, I went into a private party with him, and I said, did you have fun? And he said, no, not really. It was a lot of startup time. Everyone knew the map, and he had all these excuses to why it sucked. In the past, he would have, and I remember after Zombies, when we did Transit, he was so excited just because he got to play with Phil. Even though all he did in Transit was watch a zombie, because we were trying to do Easter egg stuff, so we didn't want the zombie to die. So I don't know if you guys know how Zombies works, but he basically just watched the zombie and had to go in a circle so that the zombie didn't die. Even though that was the most boring job in the world, just walking in a circle, he still said that was fun, because I got to play with Phil, I got to play with you, that was great. Now, fast forward a year later to October, where now he has this whole changed kind of mindset. So I not only say, Phil, I'm mad at you because of how you treated our friendship, but I'm also mad at you because you don't understand how the things that you've done have not, you didn't directly say to me that you were going to do these things to change my life and change things with my friendship, but you indirectly did them. You no longer offered a safe community for us. You no longer offered a place where we kind of felt comfort. When I came home from a bad day, why would I want to go to a DSP video where all you're bitching about is views? I'm not going to feel better if I hear you. If I hear you being depressed and talking about bad things, why am I going to feel any better about myself? That's not going to be, that's not a conducive atmosphere, and that's not what I came to admire in you as a friend and as a person. So it was this two-sided thing. So when I made that video in August, everyone was coming at me from all sides. You had people demanding me to make a video. You had people who were hating on me. You had Pete, who I was still friends with, but it was this very weird friendship. You had Phil, who just barely talked to me. So I was like, fuck, like I can't take this shit anymore. So I just fucking hit the Elgato. I'm like, hello guys, this is the AxeManGaming Lord. Here's an hour-and-a-half video of me ranting about all this sorts of shit. and I said, here it is. And I put it up on YouTube, went to bed. The next morning, I get a text message from Phil saying, Chris, I'm going to give you the best advice in your entire life. Remove that. Well, hold on a minute. Let me see if I can find the text message. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was going to ask you about that exact same thing. Did he tell you to take the video down?
Let me see if I can find the text message. Load earlier messages. Chris, I'm going to give you the best advice I've ever given you now. Delete that video and we can talk about stuff out of the public eye. I don't care. Now, here's something interesting. I don't care for my sake, but if you want to continue on YouTube, it's pretty much suicide unless you just want to have my haters watch your stuff. I'm sorry that you're upset we couldn't hang out this summer, but that wasn't even so until you told me about a mandatory 6-hour train ride. There's nothing in the entire state I'd in Connecticut worth that long of a ride besides an epic playthrough which I couldn't make happen because of game releases suck in the summer. I'm sorry that you're so disappointed, and I hope we will still talk in the future. I'm interested to hear how things go in college. So it's funny, even in the end, he kind of still had that reaction. It's funny, the first thing that I wrote was, okay, I just woke up, so I don't even know what's happening. So then the next message I write, but honestly, the video wasn't meant to hate on you at all. That wasn't my intention. I just felt like I was in a weird spot, and I had to get things off my chest, which is exactly what I just told you guys. Sorry things happened this way. I do want to continue our friendship. I just felt like it had been strained these past months, and so I made it from my feelings. I'll deal with it. If you do have a brief free moment, I would like to clear this up with you voice to voice. If you want to make a quick call, up to you. He says, unfortunately, I can't today. Just woke up, and Rambo will be here for co-op. Okay, hold on. Then he said, sup, man, running massively behind. I'm in line at GameStop. Well, as predicted, I'm in traffic. Oh, and then he sent me a random text message. I was out with ice cream with my family, and he sent me this. Well, as predicted, I'm getting massive amounts of hate because of your vid. People telling me you hate me and I'm a huge asshole. Recommend you either take it down or do another update on the situation to clear it up. This is the problem with airing personal stuff publicly, kind of like you fucked up. And I said, I'm making an update vlog. Sorry. Are you? And then I said, are you angry? I'm gonna handle it. Not sure if I'll be called a hypocrite, but whatever. He responded and said, nah, I'm not angry. I knew people would totally misunderstand it and twist it into something it's not. And then I sent some messages then I sent him a couple of messages saying that I was sorry, and then that was pretty much it. Then the other messages was just about co-op and other stuff. So
yeah, that's huge, man. Because I'll go ahead and say that puts an entirely new perspective on it for me. Because, like we said, not only were you not just worried about, I'm not going to get to do videos DSP anymore, or the views in the channel are going to dwindle. You were worried about your friend, but you were also worried about another friendship, which. It's like I said, it says a lot about you that you're more concerned about your friends and about people than you are about views and that sort of thing, which is a really good thing. And I'll agree that
which people don't understand. Yeah, people don't get that. They just dislike my content, thinking I'm trying to just be like Phil and upload playthroughs and stuff. And it's almost a frustration that. And that was the thing. That's why I made the video and kind of did that, because it was almost like not even my friends were recognizing it. Like Pete, to an extent, didn't recognize it. And then Phil certainly fucking didn't recognize it because of all the shit that was going on with him. So I was just like, what the fuck? These people were open to me at one point, and now they're not. Like, is it my fault? Is it their fault? Like, who am I to blame in this situation? And it's making me nuts. I can't take it anymore, so fuck this. Like, I'm going to make an action based on, it's not assumptions. It's not things I'm making up or overreacting. I know what I'm feeling. I can see the evidence, the facts of things going on, and I'm going to do things based on that. Like, I'm not going to be told that I'm doing shit wrong in this situation. I didn't do anything wrong, and I don't understand why people have to do this kind of shit. Like, I made some mistakes in the way I did things, but I, for the most part, stuck to, like you said, who I am. I care more about people. And that was something that I had with Phil and with my friend Pete, and I lost it in 2013. I was like, fuck. Like, this was something that I really cherished. Now I'm going to college. It's not like I want to just get rid of it now. It's like, that's fucking stupid. Like, it's something more personal with me, and that's what it really boils down to, and that's why that happened. That's why it happened. because I was fearing. I was like, college is creeping up upon me. I still have
Right.
all of these loose ends with these people. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I couldn't take it anymore, and so that's why I did what I did.
Right. Yeah, and that, to me, that's a better justification than what you were, I guess, perceived to have by certain things. And it always was interesting to me, and I was actually going to ask you about that. I'm glad you said it about DSP having you take the video down. See, that's interesting to me because of this. He seemed very concerned about, airing things like that on YouTube. But here's my big concern with that, and this will tie in to a later question. But Fiz, you and I have talked about this, and here's what I think. And this is, some of the people are, I'll admit it, some of the people are trolls. Some of them, they do it out of spite. Some of them, maybe they've said something overtly stupid and they've gotten blocked. Now they're, back on a second account and they're trying to, spite Phil or whatever. But here is why I think a lot of people, a lot of legitimate fans of DSPs have kind of just moved on. And Fiz, you and I discussed this. And I don't mean to sound like I don't rage when I play video games, because I do. I'm not the best gamer, and everybody's going to get mad when they're playing a video game. And now there's really kind of no way to, I guess, fix the problem if it happens on the spur of the moment, because he does stream. But back when he simply just recorded, I mean, there were some videos where he would just absolutely just lose his shit. And I'm talking like he dies a legitimate death, and he starts blaming the game developers, and it's rage is funny. When somebody rages is funny, but I mean when you're sitting there and it turns from anger to just like whining, and you're just like blaming the game developers, the controller.
I like
your
the film where
connection.
he rages about stuff and like does shit funny. Like he threw his PlayStation controller so hard it like made the game like freeze. So like shit like that's funny. Like I don't know, but
yeah. I like that brand of rage, but I mean like especially in things like I'll go ahead and bring it up in the Dark Souls playthrough. I mean, I realize he was new to the game. I realize he was new. But it's like, you're facing a giant Titanite demon, and there's no fog gate, so you can leave the room at any time. You can leave the freaking room. You know what I mean? It's like he's fighting his bosses if he has to. It's like, okay, maybe he didn't know. But he has on this huge, heavy armor, so I'm like, okay, he's going to be a tank build. That's cool. And then he's trying to roll. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you want to be an agile character, why do you have on the heavy armor? That's kind of self-explanatory. Either you want to tank the hits or you want to dodge them. And then it's like, he got the Drake sword, but he has to two-hand it because he doesn't know how to level up yet. And I'm like, wait a minute. There's another problem. It's like, why aren't you using your shield? So it's like he's doing, already at that point, a monumental amount of things wrong. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
So then he would say, the game didn't tell me, and this and that.
Right.
So.
Right. And I think that's what was getting to a lot of people, because, like, I'll admit, I screw up in games a lot. But it seems like to me, whenever he screws up, I can't say all the time, but from what I've seen, of the vast majority of the time, it's never him. It's the camera rotated incorrectly. The internet connection is bad. I didn't do that.
That's
the
been
game's
a theme
doing
of
it by
Phil's
itself.
for a long-ass time, if you think about it. In his Street Fighter videos, part of what made him popular was him always complaining about lag in Street Fighter. That's kind of what made him popular from the beginning. So it's always been there. So I don't know why people are thinking this is a new thing where he complains about games. Like, that's kind of baffling.
I don't know. To me, it's just like, it got to a point where it's like, there's rage, and then it gets to the point where it's just like, okay, now it's just kind of getting whiny. You know what I mean? Like if Fiz, you and I were talking about this, like if a game kind of just, I even said it in my Resident Evil 4 playthrough, which is a game I'm decent at, but when Mendez kicked my ass, I even told her, I was like, well, Mendez bent me over and had his way with me. He pretty much did everything he wanted to me, and I compare it to a prison shower scene, and it's like, that's funny. People like that. It's like, okay, everybody's not going to be great at games. We understand that. People are going to rage, but it's like constant, perpetually, when you don't read tutorials and you disregard on-screen instructions and all this stuff, and then everything wrong that happens in the game is somehow not your fault. And Fiz, you can talk a little bit about that too, because that's one of the main problems we've had.
I do that sometimes in some of my playthroughs, but it's a combination of not reading into the game, kind of rushing into it.
Right.
And,
it's rushing.
Yeah, it's rushing into it, and also some people kind of do this self-consciously, but I guess I don't really do this anymore, but Phil probably does it with the sense that he almost does it like he's not being recorded, but he is. Almost like that. Almost like you just rage just for the sake of it. Like, oh, this game sucks, blah blah blah. Like you lose in a game. This game sucks. Like, all right, that's like a natural reaction. And then Phil takes it to the another degree of saying why game developers and I mean I've kind of just looked that over in some regards. Sometimes, like, I facepalm and say, oh, Phil. Like, I kind of have, like, those oh, Phil moments where he kind of just doesn't realize, like, completely obvious stuff. Like,
right.
I still remember the moment when he was playing the Jak and Daxter HD collection. He got to the top of there's a giant tower in Jak 1. He got to the top of the tower, gets the power cell. There's a big blue thing you're supposed to stand on that lowers you into the tower. He's like, where do I go from here? And then he jumps off the tower and kills himself. And I'm like, dude, I've never seen anybody play this game and not fucking hit the button. My dad fucking figured out how to hit the button back in 2001 when that game came out, okay? And my dad, it was like your age when he played that game, okay? So, just saying, okay? My dad was around Phil's age, actually. When Jak 1 came out, my dad was around, like, his early mid-30s when he played Jak 1. So, I know Phil's like, oh, kids, when you were young and you grew up with this. Well, I don't know, whatever. I don't want to get into that. That's just, it's funny because Phil fucking up at games is what got me into his stuff. It was the Fallout 3 video where he was drunk and he didn't know what the Project Purity code was, so he kept locking himself out of Project Purity and the place kept blowing up and he kept flipping out, so.
Right. Yeah, my biggest problem with it is this. Personally, I don't mind it. A lot of the times I think it's funny. I know he uploads in bulk, unfortunately, but even when he was playing Dark Souls, some people were like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. How dare you do this? When I left comments, what I was saying was, I was giving him tips. I was like, maybe he'll go back and read this, because it wasn't like a tip for the particular boss fight. It was, tips for the game. I was like, hey man, if you press right stick, I said, I think you're pressing it forward. If you just click right stick, you'll lock on. I was like, the camera won't rotate on you.
The hate comments probably overshadowed all of that.
yeah, a lot of it got marked as spam, actually, which is pretty sad. But the whole thing was, it's like, my biggest concern with it is this. I think that's going to drive his viewership away. Maybe not completely. Maybe a lot of it's going to be the campaign against it. Maybe some people are going to they've been blocked and they're spreading the word or whatever. But I think a lot of it has to do with his attitude in games. And another thing that I want to ask you about with this. Now this, I'm not exactly sure if this holds any water when it comes to, in all seriousness, because I hear this from a lot of people. And I'm gonna say it, but then I kind of want to just make a comparison too, and then I'll let you give your opinion on it. The whole thing about the racist accusations, and I'm like, okay, one of my favorite people to listen to do stand up is Daniel Tosh, and Daniel
your friend
Tosh,
dropped from the call.
Hang on a second. Yep. And he just sent me a text. Okay.
I just saw like a little phone hang up. I'm like, that does not sound good.
The text just says, shitty, period, satellite, period, internet, period. So maybe I'll try to get back in, but well, if he can't get back in, everyone, sorry about that. But he was doing his best with the internet he had, but
yeah, you can finish up your thought.
Yeah, but Daniel Tosh is one of my favorite comedians to listen to, and he does have some jokes that people may say they're in bad taste, and it's like, okay, but people really like Daniel Tosh. The thing with Phil is, I don't think Phil's actually a racist. He doesn't come across to me as a person who actually believes those sort of things. I think he makes jokes simply because it's a style of humor, just like it is for Daniel Tosh. But I think maybe because people already have something against Phil, they're kind of using that and amplifying that and putting that up in the spotlight, being like, oh, look at what Phil said.
Yeah, you hit it. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. People have preconceived notions and grudges against Phil, and when, he makes a racist comment, they fucking flip out. I mean, hell, wasn't that the thing that got his Blip TV channel shut down for a racist comment? Yeah, so...
Yep.
Whatever. Just haters, more haters.
Yeah, he's got a lot of and this is the thing too, that now I think even if nothing else happens, it must be rather stressful to know that you have to kind of watch what you say a little more carefully, because you have probably at any given time a group of people watching that don't like you, and anything you do say is going to be thrown in the spotlight if it can be perceived in a negative way. And this is something else that I've been curious about. Now this is something that I legitimately would like to know, because I had an opinion about the the rage in the games, the racist comments, and all this stuff, but Phil's talking about how his financial situation. The economy sucks, the job market has collapsed. Everyone knows that. There's no denying that. But Phil's always talking about how he's strapped for cash. He needs more views. He's like you said, he's getting stressed because enough people aren't watching and everything. But at the same time, we see he's got these all this crazy stuff.
The money controversy.
Yeah, he gets all these custom games, these luxury hotel rooms, all these pairs of headphones, and a lot of people are asking the question, what is going on here? And I think what people are drawing from this is maybe that he's, I want to say, being a little evangelical and holding out the offering plate in a sense, because people are saying, wait a minute, you say you want us to watch more because you tell us, you're running out of cash and the economy's hard, but yet you seem to have money to buy all this stuff. So is there something there that we don't know, or
that is something I wish I asked Phil more, but it kind of brings me back to the point you made about, well, you don't really ask someone about their finances. So I kind of felt awkward in asking him that kind of stuff. To me, I felt like you did. I felt it was ridiculous. Like, he was burning through fucking headsets and capture devices like hotcakes. Like, oh, this one doesn't work, trash. This one doesn't work, trash. This one doesn't work.
Right.
I was like, dude, it was like, holy. It's like, dude, for me to just get the Elgato game capture, it was like a combined gift for me turning 18. Like, I had little to no cash trying to get that with all the other stuff. Like, I couldn't just... Oh, Elgato doesn't work? Like, the Elgato actually didn't work with my computer for a long period of time until I figured out the problem. What, was I just going to say trash? Oh, I don't have any money for an Elgato. I can go back to the camera now. It's like what? Like, it's just...
Right.
It's... I don't know. I did disagree with that when it was happening, but I don't know his finances. Maybe there's something else going on. I don't really know, but it's hard for anything else, because the facts are the facts. He's admitting in his videos that he's buying this quality hotel, and that it's funny because when we went to MagFest and Too Many Games, he didn't really get that much expensive stuff. He was reserved back in his spendings, honestly. And here's something. Oh, there's one thing about money I can say about him. When we went out to eat and the bill came, I said, Phil, how much money do you want me to put in? He's like, I don't ask for money. It doesn't matter how much you put in. Just that's all he said. He's like, I don't ask for money, so just, that's fine. And I was well, and I said, well, I'm not going to take a free ride on my meal. Like, my meal costs money. I'm not going to just say you pay for the whole thing. That's a dick move. So I did throw money in the pot for to pay the bill, but that kind of hit me like, all right, well, okay. Like, I mean, I don't know if he was doing that just because everyone were friends at the table or what, but it was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, that speaks a lot. I've had people in the past where they have kind of a double standard. Where say, they owed me like $15 or something, and I kind of wait. I'd test the waters to see, okay, are they gonna remember it? Is it gonna be fresh in their mind? Are they gonna be like, hey, man, here's your money, or at least, hey, I'll get your money tomorrow? And it's like it took them like weeks to get around to it, and I had to ask for it. But then it's like when I owe them, like I had to like borrow $1 to put in the vending machine because I wanted like a some M&Ms or something. Like the next hour, oh dude, you got that $1? Hey dude, don't forget you owe me $1. It's like, dude, come on, So it's it's really good to hear that he's not like that with money. The problem with money is, like you said, it's really kind of encroaching to ask someone about their financial activities and everything. But the thing that I think gets a lot of people is it ties back in with the belief that Phil's in it for the money now. The thing I noticed was this, because I'll admit I do agree with Fiz, who is still not back in, by the way. He's sending me like text after text after text, just flipping out over his internet connection. But I do think Phil made a lot of bad moves. I do think he brought a lot of this on himself. But I am a big fan of his, and even if I wasn't, I would never, ever, wish to see. Like I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I expect that the well's going to run dry pretty soon. But you and I are both in the same boat. Fiz would say as well. None of us are hoping that it falls through for him. And my worry is that if this doesn't get under control, and if he doesn't fix the problem, I guess rather quickly, then it's going to be too late. So I guess the next question, this is kind of a broad question, but we've already agreed that if he keeps going at the rate he is now, 2014, 2015, he's going to just have to throw in the towel. But do you think he can get back on track?
Well, I don't think it's possible. And it's not, some of it doesn't even have to do with him. Some of it's just YouTube in general. Like Machinima cutting his pay, that didn't have anything to do with him. That's because ad revenue on YouTube sucks. The market is becoming saturated with playthroughs. It's becoming harder to get your name out there. Not all of this is Phil's fault. Phil could have had the best attitude in the world, and he still might have had some of the same views problems he's having now. You can just think about that. And I think some of those view problems, then changed his attitude and stuff. So I don't think YouTube is going to be, up in the profits in 2014, 2015. I think it's going to be in this declining stage. More and more fucking people are going to be saturating the market. The bigger YouTubers are going to get, just like the mentality in America, the richer get richer and the poorer get poorer. It's the same fucking mentality on YouTube. The most popular viewed people have all the fucking spots on YouTube, and the people who are trying to make channels and get views get no fucking recognition whatsoever. It used to be different years ago, and then YouTube had the brilliant idea of changing it because, all the other people got in their pockets and said, we'll give you money if you do this and this and promote us here and here and here. And then it fucked over everyone else, and it's like, wow, okay, so it's just YouTube is just becoming this fucking wasteland now with just generic fucking playthroughs everywhere, and it's just, and that's why my channel is suffering too. That's why Phil's channel is suffering. My channel suffered over 2013. I had way higher views in 2012 than I did 2013. I can speak from my own experience on my own channel that I had way more interactivity in 2012, and in 2013 I was like disappointed that it was dwindling. So that's another thing. Think of what I told you, where basically all these things were piling up on me. I had a channel that was failing. I had this friendship with Phil that was just really awkward with his channel stuff. I had this friendship with Pete that was in this really weird stage of rising but declining, but like not really staying at this steady level because we really didn't have anything to talk about, and I was all confused about it, and it was affecting me. And then I was graduating from high school. I had to make big decisions about college. Like, think of all these things adding up. And it basically, not only pushed me to make that video, but just without a lack of a better term, pushed me to do other things as well. Not in really not a bad sense, but just in a sense that I was just like this is ridiculous. Just like I was just getting fed up. It was just too many things coming from too many corners, and I give myself credit for sticking in there and being so confident and toughing it out. I do give myself credit for that. And
absolutely, man.
Yeah, and I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if I can get things back on track. Like, my friendship with my friend Pete is more important than the fucking shit that I'm doing with Phil and his community stuff. Like, it's no longer fun to do a co-op playthrough with Phil. Like, it's just... First of all, his mic, it makes my ears bleed. I don't know what's wrong with his... whatever headset he uses for direct capture is just like... like, it sounds like someone's, like, raping a fucking elephant. Like, I don't know what's happening. it's just so it hurts my fucking ears. So, and then obviously there's the view stuff and all that stuff that goes into his channel and whatnot. But that's where I'm at. It's really just this what the fuck thing. I have no time to fucking worry about it. I'm into college like your friend who's still not here, and I don't have time to worry about that shit anymore. I don't have time to fucking go on his streams and worry about this and that and the other, and this is what I knew would happen. Over the summer when all of this happened, I was like, wow, I'm gonna get to college and none of this shit is gonna fucking matter. Wow.
Right.
Because these friends that I have are showing zero interest in wanting to continue this friendship. It's my constant fucking efforts. And once I'm busy and I don't have time for it, that's it. That's pretty much it. And I don't know how it's going to affect me because I don't like regret. I don't like looking back at things and saying what could have been, what should have been, and all the other things that go with that. It's very detrimental to me and I don't like it. And the thought that would happen, basically, it just drove me nuts, and I just got so frustrated, and one of the things I did in my frustration was making that video. So there you have it.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. It has became, it's became an incredibly different place. I remember, even Seamus was talking about it. He was like, if he's like in 2008, he's like when he started, he's like, I posted a couple of videos, and he's like, the thing was back then, he's like, if you typed in, you could think of anything. He's like, if you typed in, say, Resident Evil 4, he said, you'd have maybe 20, 25 people who had done it on YouTube. He said, so at that point, it was a lot easier to get noticed. He said, now, thousands upon thousands of people jumping into the market is more saturated, and I gotta agree with you, when you said, we hope the best for DSP, but at this point, it doesn't look very good. I mean, the positivity campaign is one thing, the improving quality with direct capture was another, but I think it's still a lot of the same problems. I think a lot of people are just, maybe they're getting, they're going to other channels, like you said, more competition in the market. It could be any number of things. It could be a combination. It could be the negativity that surrounds DSP, but I really don't see any change in this kind of downward spiral he's going to. But what I do want to say is, though, for the last question that I have for the night, because we covered a lot of great stuff, man, and I thank you so much for doing this, and I'm sure Fiz would thank you too if his internet hadn't dumped out.
Yeah.
But
It was good for you guys. It was also good for me to kind of say all this back because I've had these thoughts and feelings in my head. And honestly, I was probably going to I'm still going to probably make a big vlog on my channel at the end of December because my channel, when I opened my channel, was December 27th. So it'll be, and I'm literally going to title the video, why 2013 was the biggest year of my life with the most changes, because things with my channel, like every month was different for a different reason. I mean, I don't want to go through it all again, but it was big for a million different reasons, and it changed my attitude about a whole lot of things and just how things interacted and just a lot of stuff in general. So yeah, so doing this video, at least people can listen to it and can kind of get that understanding of where I'm coming from, I guess.
Right. And my last question to you would be, if those who watch this video can only take one thing away from it, what would you want that one thing to be?
That in the end, what I'm trying to do is the right thing, but also I'm at a point where I guess it doesn't matter. Like, you can think what you think, but it's at a point where it doesn't matter. Like, it's not like, again, as I said, Phil's audience is popular enough for me to, have this big mattering concern in it and all these other things. So think what you want, take away what you want from this video, and I don't actively try to, do anything. I don't have time, and that's just the truth about it. And things will happen the way they do, and you just gotta you just got to keep, one thing we can take away, like Phil's mentality, staying positive. Don't letting the negativity keep you down. And that's what drove me forward in 2013. I always stayed positive, even though I had thoughts, feelings, and things occurring that told me otherwise. I still stayed positive and just kind of stuck in there. And things did get better, even when I thought they weren't going to. So that's basically what you can take away.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I'll just say, based on everything, I still have my opinions on Phil and some of the things he says and some of the things he does in his playthroughs. But, as for you, like I said, Fiz and I had you pegged incorrectly, and I think a lot of people, hopefully after they listen to this video and they see really what you've gone through and the things that you've said and where you're concerned really lied, and now that they have the whole story as opposed to just a glimpse of it here and a piece of it there, they can kind of reach the same conclusion that Fiz and I did. And I do want to tell you guys that Chris and I are planning some co-op soon, co-commentaries and things like that, so be on the lookout for that. But I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, man, I thank you so much for doing this. Hopefully it's going to clear a lot of things up, and hopefully this will breed the real type of positivity, the true type of positivity.
Yep, definitely. It was a pleasure to be on, and I thank you for the 2 hours and 11 minutes worth of maybe in change, because some of that was glitchiness and pre stuff, but roughly 2 hours. So yeah.
Yep.
So, yep.
All right, guys. So we thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.